grounding ourselves, why are we talking about the Maine Equal Rights Amendment? I thought this was important to start with just because, as many of you may have seen, the American Bar Association in August came out with a resolution pushing for recognition of the ERA as the 28th Amendment. And because Virginia ratified in 2020, saying we now have over 3/4 of the states, it's time to recognize this amendment as valid and enforceable. However, we also live in an increasingly polarized climate where the people in power who would be in a position to do this recognition and to set the ball in motion, it's so polarized that it feels hard to see Congress working together to make this happen. We then, on the state level, have a state Supreme Court. The Maine Supreme Court has said that the Maine Equal Protection Clause is, quote unquote, coextensive with the federal Equal Protection Clause. So in interpreting our current Equal Protection Clause that says no person shall be denied, that's as far as I have memorized, but no person, that our law court in 2012 said they're only going to interpret that as far as the federal Constitution is interpreted. So as far as the United States Supreme Court interprets the Equal Protection Clause, is as far as our law court will interpret our current Constitution and equal protection. And we know with a Supreme Court that is increasingly rolling back rights, that it is even if we could get politicians to agree that the ERA is the newest amendment to the United States Constitution, it's an open question about how they would interpret it at the federal level. And so I just wanted to put that as the groundwork for why states are so important in this time of polarization and this radical Supreme Court that has rolled back rights, and why it's important that we focus at the state level on what Maine can do to protect Maine citizens. And that's sort of where I wanted to level set.
I mean, in our country, we're a country of states' rights and national rights. And so it makes sense to me that we need to have coverage both at the state and the federal level.
So the commission, generally, to investigate a claim of discrimination requires that somebody file a complaint with us first, which means that they both have to know that the Maine Human Rights Act exists, know that the commission exists, and understand that what is happening to them might be discrimination under those laws. And that is, it's an ongoing project to make sure that people understand what that looks like, what the law is, what their protections are. And I may be idealistic about this, but I feel like if it's in the Constitution, like that's the Maine Human Rights Act, don't get me wrong, I think it's a great law. I like to enforce it. My commission counsel wrote a lot of it. I think it's excellent, but as a Constitution is an expression of sort of what are our core values as a community. And so I can't help but think that if we enshrine this in the Constitution, even though these protections already exist in state law, that is a stronger statement about what we value and also a stronger foundation for the law that already exists.
What would you say to people who say women already have equal rights? And not just women, but that equal rights are the foundation of our society, and we don't need a state equal rights amendment to protect them. What would your answer to that be?
Well, my answer would be, we certainly have those protections enshrined in law, and yet I am still getting between 600 to 800 complaints of discrimination per year at the agency. And I know that those 600 to 800 complaints are not the only instances that are happening. Those are the instances that are getting to us.
I think that even, like our suffrage forebears, activist forebears did not give up. It took 72 years if you date it to the 1848 Seneca Falls Convention for women to for most women in the country to achieve voting rights through the 19th Amendment to the US Constitution. You know, it's been over 100 years since the ERA was first introduced. I'd like to hope that it's not going to be another 100 years before we see the ERA successful. But regardless, that's our fight. Our forebears did not give up, and we can't either.